this paradigm where that first planting of a seed of an idea is where the source of creation comes from. AI, I think, is a magnificent ally for creatives. If doing the AI might inspire you to therefore pick up an instrument and start learning it, then that's great. As a creative professional, it is hard to make money, especially if you aren't, connected or networked in. We should just navigate our lives on a day-to-day, knowing that we're going to be faced with challenges as humans. Because we are created in the image of God, we are able to create and manifest things. Trying to do open mics, we're wanting to do double bills, we're wanting to do an art show, the things that we want to do. It's a non-profit. It's very much rooted in us grassroots level. That relationship between the performer and the audience is that it becomes like one community, a connectivity, as you say. What is the intention behind what you are doing? That is what's going to give you the joy, the impetus. If you're doing it with the wrong intention or with an impure intention, then something will go awry. Songs that I write also are informed by my thinking about life and the world. And I have a song that I wrote called "Split the Sky," which also looks at this idea of being human and just finding connectivity. How are you going to bring joy into your life and joy into the lives of others, your family, your friends?
Greetings, seekers of ancient wisdom, and we are back again talking about one of the most amazing ancient practices that all of us have access to, and that is creating, just like the Creator created us. So to talk about this wonderful topic, I'm joined by Moshe Singer, who runs a creative art program or platform. Is that the right way to put it? Moshe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
So Moshe, since you're so entrenched in creativity, right? I mean, you're a singer, songwriter, you have this creative arts gathering that you've platform that you've created, done a number of events. You're heavily entrenched in creativity. How does that help in your life, just being creative all the time?
I guess being a creative person, it's not something that comes naturally. It's I've had to develop the craft, of being a musician. I'm also a theatre person. I'm also a film person. I like to consider myself a video artist, a film artist, and I'm a teacher and a facilitator. And I've always worked on, the idea of being able to encourage others to find a voice. As a teacher, I was able to do that and guiding people towards finding their voices. But you ask about how it's helped me. The truth is that I feel like it's become part of my purpose in this world, like part of my soul purpose in this world. Not only to be a creator, to create my own content. And when I say my own, I'm a singer, songwriter, I'm a poet. But it's also about being able to create spaces for others to find that, those juices. And once people are able to do that, they can find a connectivity, a humane connectivity. And that's what Creative Gatherings is about. That's the name of the project. And it's very, very much about finding opportunities for gatherings. And because it's called Creative Gatherings because it can be any sort of gathering. The one where we met, it was rooted in an open mic. And I love open mic because that's literally giving everyone a platform to have a voice. And in the world that we're living in now, I just feel like it's just everyone has something to say. Everyone has a platform with social media, but it can be kind of like an echo chamber, But when it comes out in music, when it comes out in visual art, in poetry, in dance, it's something that people can feel. There's a feel there. You might not be able to turn it into words, but there's something there that you kind of that bubbles, that starts to seep out, and it can affect one in a profound way, and hopefully in a positive way. And that's really like why I do it. I feel like it's become my like one of my goals in life to be able to do this work. Um, there is something about the alignment of when something works, when an ensemble works, there's an alignment of and there's a sense of flow where people kind of get into a zone, a meditative zone where they're just perfectly in harmony, and something brand new can come out of that. It's like when you play with a band, sometimes it just clicks and it's beautiful, and afterwards you feel encouraged and inspired, and it paves the way for you to go out and do good, you know, and that's what it does for me. Um, as a singer, as a songwriter, it's always been my kind of outlet. I'm always channeling my life experiences into my music, and whether it's happy or sad, morose, embarrassed, shame, contentment, it always spills into my music as my outlet, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Grateful to the source, as you described, where creativity comes from, the source.
Yes. Source is to me the ultimate creator, right? He created our universe that we're in and all the infinite amount of things that we can see and experience on this planet. And it all starts with a thought, right? It all starts, every creation starts with a thought or an idea or something. I mean, we can have discussions about where those ideas come from. I believe there could be downloads from higher selves or your um, support team, the higher angelic support team that you have. Maybe they're downloading, sending you ideas. But anyway, from the idea state to manifest it in this physical realm, you then need to do some action, right? So I guess in the term of maybe the songwriting, you need to sit down at a table with a pen and paper and start writing some lyrics. And the other action might be then now you need to then get an instrument. I think you play the guitar. I don't know if you play other instruments, but you'll start trying to put a melody to it. So there's the thought, and then you need to take action on that thought, but also infuse it with your emotion, right? That you're feeling, and that really is the combination of what creation is. And to me, it's like such an amazing opportunity to be like the creator. I mean, obviously, we're not source, we're not creating the universe, but we're creating something small that is would never have existed, right? If it wasn't for our thought and our action and our emotion and our time and effort and energy doing this thing together, this thing would have never been in existence, right? The songs you've written and sung, like the poems you've written and sung, I mean, all the creations out there, they would have never existed if someone didn't spend that time and effort to create it. And I mean, to me, it's just such a beautiful way of spending your energy. And I think that's to me is what they say when we are created in God's image, or we are like God-like, is we have the ability to create just like He creates. We can use our energy and time how we see to create beautiful or destruction, like we see across the planet. So I feel it like I feel it's something that everyone should do. But this is the topic I want to talk about because in this new age now that we're in, and I'm also guilty of it, we've got technology, we've got now artificial intelligence that can create things for you without you having to spend time and all that energy. And they're telling us, like, okay, now you're going to have more time to do other stuff because the AI is going to do all the creating for you. You know, you just have to come and give it some instructions and a few little questions here and there, and it will create. You know, ChatGPT can create you a whole report or a memorandum. I'm sure it can create poems and create lyrics if you ask it to. Like, what do you see as the evolution, or how do we move forward with creation being taken away from us by the technology, or not taken away, we're giving it away, you know, as a world, as a population.
So there are a couple of things that I'd like to respond to from what you said, because it all kind of connects. You know, you first started to speak about this paradigm where that first um, planting of a seed of an idea is where the source of creation comes from. And that paradigm can be looked at as like kind of like a masculine energy. You're planting a seed, you're giving an energy out there, you know. Then you're talking about like nurturing it. How do you take it and give it life? It's a matter of really taking care. And then there's a third part, which is kind of like the fulfillment of that process. Have an idea, create it, and then it manifests, that manifestation. In Jewish Kabbalah, it's aligned to the three flows of energy that are associated to the mind. Chokhmah, which has to do with the thought, that initial planting of the seed. Bina, which has to do with that nurturing, and da'as, which is the manifestation, the fulfillment. And that da'as can be aligned with the idea of the crown, which is keter, which is can be everything, which is godly, which is everything in that idea. And then you spoke about how we are created in that image of God, so that means that we can create, which is 100% correct. And I mean, my thinking, you must understand that it does. It comes from a paradigm of Jewish philosophy, and consequently, when I think about that, I think about how, you know, creatives all around the world are experiencing this flow of energy, and it's so profound. Once that completion happens, the flow of energy begins again. It's like a brand new energy can come out of it, and we are able to manifest it. You plant, you even by sending an energy out into the universe, by saying, I want blank, somehow it might just manifest. Um, and I have a story to share. But before I get to that story, I want to talk about what you just asked. It's like, how do we keep up with this technology that is being, you know, overly saturating the universe? You know, AI, I think, is a magnificent ally for creatives. You know, it really, really is. I use it in my work, you know, but the human element of it, that's how we will keep going, is that you have to, when they say like allow AI to do this thing so you can do other things, what you do with those other things matters, because what you do with that's how you are manifesting and creating and, you know, bringing light into the world and refining things around you. If you look at architecture, if you look at design, if you look at anything, I mean, what is art effectively, if not when you attach some sort of meaning to something, you know? If you take that's what a creative does. A creative takes like will create a beautiful picture of a flower, and that flower might be representative of their childhood holiday vacation house where there was this beautiful flower, and there's that meaning attached to it. That is the human element that AI cannot take that away from you. It can't. And that is what being a human artist is about. To continue attaching meaning to things in your life, not allowing for, something to be made a report. You create a report and then boom, it's a report. That's fine. It's important that one can use that in a practical, pragmatic way to navigate through life. I mean, we also have to evolve and adapt to the world around us. But it doesn't mean then that you should say, AI, please make me a flower. And then a flower pops up, and suddenly that's what you attach meaning to, that's connected to your child. Maybe it does. But the point is that you have to bring the human element into it, the humane essence of it.
But I wanted to touch on the fact that there's so many programs, right, out there at the moment, AI programs that can draw images for you, create some image, or ChatGPT can even write lyrics for you, can write poems. They might not be very good at the moment for our human creative critics, right? But it can make these things. Music even. Like I have written poems and put it through this music generator. I think I sent you one of the songs that was made by an AI, right? I just told it I want this genre of song. Please use these lyrics and create it. And it just created it. And it was actually quite fun. It was actually quite a nice song that came out at the end of this process. But I feel like I cheated in a way, right? Because I didn't actually create that whole thing. I created just the lyrics, really. But this machine now took my God's ability, right? Because I've been created in God's image to create this thing. It's actually taken that away from me to make the song. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm asking? It's like almost taking away our power in a way, or we're giving it away.
I think it's about how you form your relationship with that AI. I mean, I listened to your song and I thought it was very, very fun. I think it gives opportunity to everyone, to children, to create songs. It's fun. It's a great support. But how do you relate to it, and how do you relate to your own form of creativity? An AI app might be able to play beautiful instruments, but can you pick up an instrument and play it? If doing the AI might inspire you to therefore pick up an instrument and start learning it, then that's great. While you might feel like you may have cheated, at the end of the day, that's you're experiencing that doubt. And I think that as a creative, I worked on I was working for a client recently, and I had to I do multimedia things, and I was busy editing, and I had to write up this thing, and she asks me, did AI do that? And I was like, no, I did it. And she was so impressed. She was so impressed because I was as good as the AI. I mean, it seems bonkers, but in a way, I was quite flattered by that, because AI is computer perfection. But I have to I have to judge not so poorly on it. I want to judge favorably the things that can be a support in this world. It's how you do it. It's when technology was advancing during the Industrial Revolution, people were saying, oh my gosh, trains and cars, oh, we're not going to be able to keep up. This is crazy. And then we adapt and we move on and we keep going. But it's the human element. That's what's important. You have to inform the human element with life. You have to take the AI song and make a dance that you can teach your friends, and make a video of your friends doing the dance. That's cool. It's what you do with it that matters.
That's a good takeaway from that AI discussion, because I guess AI is here to stay, and it's just going to keep getting better, and it's probably going to get more cost effective, and there's going to be more and more and more things it can do. And what we do with it. It's how we navigate using the tools, and hopefully not let the tools overtake us.
Yeah, then we're heading into Terminator 2 territory.
Yeah, Terminator 2, Skynet, all the rest. So I wanted to shift a little bit about how I feel it helps your spiritual evolution, just being creative. And at the moment, it's difficult to make a lot of money being creative, right? Unless you're obviously at the top echelon and you're a major celebrity. But for the rest of the public, being creative doesn't really generate any income. And we're in this capitalist culture where we need money to pay the bills, to do this, to buy that, to pay for that, to do etc. So you need to really optimize your time. And if you look at the corporate world, most people are working 8 to 5. Some corporate jobs are more intensive and they need to spend, more hours, weekends. There's travel time as well. I mean, you know what Joburg and Gauteng is like. You need to spend an hour traveling anywhere during peak hour, an hour minimum. So there's all this time that you have to spend to earn money, to earn income so you can survive and live. Then you still have, children and other responsibilities, obligations, all this other stuff you have to do. There's very little time available to just create for the sake of creating, right? I think the mindset I see with a lot of people in the capitalist rat race is they need to really be spending their time to make money, or it's spending it with their loved ones or doing some activity. But to just create for the sake of creating, it seems like a waste of time. However, I feel this is where we really connect with source, and this is where I would love people to just create for the fun of creating, because I really feel that it has a meditative effect. It has, just you connecting with yourself, just having fun. It probably does a lot of hormonal balancing and stimulation, just going through that process of creating with no expectation. Because I feel at the moment, if someone's creating something, they want to make some money out of it, or they want to sell the painting, or they want to sell a song, or you're creating because you want to do you want to this creation must earn you some revenue. But I would like to shift that mindset for people and say, well, just create just for yourself, for not to show anyone, just for yourself, to be doing something and to have fun with it. What's your views on that?
I think there are two ways of looking at it. The one is if you are a creative professional, and the other one is if you are not a creative professional and you are using, any a medium of creativity as an outlet. As a creative professional, it is hard to make money, especially if you aren't trained or skilled, if you aren't, connected or well networked in, if you don't have a background, it can be challenging. Um, for me personally, thank God, I'm educated. I studied at Wits. I've spent years like working on my craft, and I see it as a craft. I see it as a discipline. It's not just an outlet for me. So interestingly enough, when I used to teach, I was a drama teacher for about 10 years. When I was a drama teacher, I needed to play music as an outlet. That was my creative outlet because I was spending all day long, like working with kids in drama. Now I'm spending a lot more time playing music. So now I'm fine and doing a lot of video editing. So I'm finding an outlet in like exercise, you know, which is, because I have to find, different outlets all the time for what I'm doing because it's important to rest. I think that it's important to have for everyone to have some form of outlet that they are able to, express themselves, that they're able to have some sort of a release, because as humans, we are human. we're created in the image of God, as you say, but we are human. We are physical. We live in this physical world. We have to navigate through this physical world. And every single day we are faced with challenges, and we have to face them, but then we need to like get stuff out our system. What I used to love is dancing. Dancing was an incredible form of release for me. I would go to the Doors nightclub in Edenvale and just rock out every single week, and it was amazing. It was amazing, 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 and I miss it a lot. Now, as a now I don't have the physicality to rock it out the way that I'd want to. So I have to find other ways, and whether it's creative or whether it's just a hobby, it's important to just find something. But like as you were saying before, it's what you do with it. You speak about like you create a painting, what value do you place on it, and how do you sell it? I've often asked that question. How do you add value to something to sell it? And for me, it's a question again of like, how do you attach meaning to the painting? You think about these famous artists that lived penniless lives, and only after they died did their works have any value. You have people who have opinions, subjective ideas about what is good art and what is bad art. In my opinion, there's no such thing as bad art, because as an artist, the artist will attach meaning to it. And I say this because, there's music art, there's video art, there's dramatic arts, there is martial arts. You can do like a whole bunch of funny, like hand gestures, but the moment you add meaning to it, you have like a karate kata. Do you know what I mean? So the question of adding value to a piece of work, it's a moot point, because at the end of the day, like your family is going to value your work, whether or not it's famous or not. I don't know. I still haven't quite figured that one out. But I think it's important that, number one, everyone has an outlet. Number two, people can create and enjoy it, given that human experience. And three, we should just navigate our lives like on a day-to-day, knowing that we're going to be faced with challenges as humans. Because we are created in the image of God, we are able to create and manifest things. Which brings me to a story that I'd like to share.
Yes, you mentioned that earlier, so please share the story.
I'd like to share with you my first moment of divine providence. I probably experienced many moments of divine providence before, but not on this like level that completely blew my mind and shook me up and changed the course of my life. When I was 23, the year was 2007, I went to Africa Burn, the first one that they had in South Africa. Now I haven't been back since. And what happened was I was at the festival, and everyone has to contribute something creative to the festival, but also contributing something creative, but that's also for the community. And at this point in my life, I'd gone to Wits, studied psychology and drama, but also like other things like media studies and like social anthropology and like all these things. And I was also a camp counselor. And I'd started to go to like lectures from different rabbis on like Kabbalah and mysticism. And I was still very, very young to understand all of it. But anyway, what I wanted to do to contribute to the festival was kind of be create an alter ego character for myself that would serve as a counselor to help people who were, like tripping on drugs or having bad experiences, and I could just help them and bring water for people. And that was like what I wanted to do. But like I wanted a costume, for this character, and I made the character name Mighty Mo. That was my name, Mighty Mo. And I needed a symbol. Like all superheroes have like a symbol. So I was thinking like I need like something like harmonious, something to represent like balance in my life, because at the time I was learning about the Star of David. 2 dots, so it's kind of like a yin yang symbol as well. And that's what I asked a henna tattoo artist at the festival if she would like draw it on my body. And she was like, okay, sure, but not with the Star of David. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't want to get into a thing. So about an hour later, I was just talking to like other people at the festival, and I started to talk to this woman who was British, and she had been traveling around the world. And she said to me, after I told her who I am and where I'm from, etc., she said, well, I've never, on my travels, I met this one man who had like, big black hats and like rings coming out of his ears, and said to me that if you ever meet anyone on your travels who has a connection, a strong connection, you must give them a bracelet. And he gives her 10 bracelets. And now we're busy talking, her and I, and she takes out this bag filled with bracelets. And she's like, yeah, I'd like to give you this bracelet. And this is the bracelet. As you can see, it's a Star of David with like all of these like studs, which is exactly the symbol that I was wanting to manifest. And that was like a bolt of lightning for me. And I've spent years trying to make sense of that experience. And to this day, I still am. Also trying to understand the symbology behind what's going on here, because there are 10 dots, one in the middle, 3 on the inside, and then 6 on the outside. And I've asked and I've explored and I've got a couple of ideas, but I don't know if I'll ever find out the true answer. But please God, I will. And what happened was after that I actually went a bit manic and had to take a break from things and take a time out, and then slowly like get back into things, which I did. And yeah, that's the story.
So that's creation on a next level, right? You had the idea, you took the energy and effort, and I'm sure you were very passionate about this emblem and this symbol that you imagined, and you even wanted it drawn on your body, not tattooed, but I mean drawn by a tattoo artist on your body. But it actually came in a physical bracelet form. I mean, that's like really manifestation um, ability. And it was at Africa Burn, which is obviously a very high energy site. Being in the desert, high frequency. I think the vibe is also good. Probably the first one was very high energy. But I really believe when you're in a higher state of consciousness and a higher frequency, manifestation works in that way. It might not be the way that you want, but it will come in the way that the universe wishes to give it to you. They don't want you to paint your body, but I preferred a bracelet of this image. It's such a beautiful story. I hope people do relate. This is how you can manifest. So Moshe, I wanted to just shift a little bit back to your Creative Gatherings platform, because for people who haven't checked it out, this is absolutely amazing. Moshe did an open mic session, but I think you said there's different varieties. But here at this open mic, there was music, there was stand-up comedy, there was children coming and singing, there was even a ventriloquist. Can you believe it? A ventriloquist. And she was actually pretty good. I was very impressed. She must have been in her teens. But there was such a wide array of people coming to express and be creative. And yeah, I mean, I love this concept. Maybe tell us more about this concept and where it's going, Creative Gatherings.
Thank you. Sure. I'd love to talk about it. And thank you so much for coming, because you've got to mention that you came and presented 2 poems, of which when you left, people were coming up to me saying, who was that guy? Like that last poem that you presented on, it was on trauma. It was on trauma. Yeah, it hits a nerve for a lot of people. And the reason for that is because there is that human connectivity there. The project started in 2017. by me and a couple of friends who are musicians who just wanted to connect, you know, and we started to figure out a kind of like an ethos for ourselves, you know, being South African. What makes us proudly South African? And at the time, I was also a life orientation teacher. While I was teaching drama, I was also teaching life orientation. And you know, one of the topics in life orientation is, you know, democracy and human rights. And one of the most incredible things is Ubuntu. South African Ubuntu. If it weren't for Ubuntu, there wouldn't have been reconciliation in South Africa. I mean, the question is, has it properly been reconciliation? That's a political question. But that move towards, you know, all of us being connected is something that we felt is what we wanted our project to be. And also because of where we come from, we are a diverse bunch. And so we felt like very, very strongly that like if we can inform Ubuntu within a creative paradigm, a creative context, we can do magical things. So we also felt like that this is the sort of paradigm that we can actually use and bring it in an international kind of forum. So one of the biggest projects that we ran 2 years ago, it was basically a summit. And it was divided up into, you know, it was very rooted in humanities, and you had people who are working in you know, environmental stuff, people in business, and then you have the creative artists, and from all around the world. And we came together and we had this idea, like let's do something. So we created a project where we brought participants from, like, Jewish participants who came to the summit, but they were all from Vienna, from America, from France. We brought them to South Africa and we partnered them with our community friends in Soweto, called the Creative Arts Space. And we had a 6-day project where what we did was we took everyone we went to the Apartheid Museum, we went to the Holocaust Museum. Then in the afternoons, we would work in Soweto. And it's an applied theatre model that we worked off, which means that we worked with the kids towards putting on performances within different disciplines. So we'd have creative, so it was kind of like a CAPS kind of curriculum. So rooted in dramatic arts, music, dance, and then we also had photography and drama. And at the end of the week, everyone came together and performed. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And that was that was something that was just like absolutely amazing. We wanted to do something else. There's been since October 7th, for us, we were actually like quite nervous to do anything. On a personal level, I've personally felt like I'm busy trying to figure all this stuff out. You know, it's like I'm living in South Africa. I'm trying to like wrap my head around all this stuff. And I know what my intention is. My intention is to, you know, use my skills, my abilities to help. So that's why I really wanted to start up again. And I wanted to start up again this year. And that's why what we're doing now. Now we're trying to do like open mics. We're wanting to do double bills. We're wanting to do like an art show. Like the things that we want to do, and hopefully wanting to take it and extend it with now we've got friends in America. Hopefully we'll be able to connect there. Hopefully we'll be able to connect in other places around the world. And it's a non-profit. It's very much rooted in us grassroots level. You know, we part of the summit, we did this like leadership we went on this leadership seminar, and there was this thing about empathic leadership, which is something that I took like very, very close to heart, which is like you're leading from the front, from the top, but you're also like leading from the middle, and you're also leading from the bottom, in that like you are the director, but you're also the janitor, you know. And in that capacity, you get like a full experience. And that's kind of like what I do as a side gig, because you can't make money doing this. We don't. That open mic that you came to was a free event. And a lot of all the money that we did put in went towards bringing artists from Soweto to our side, to Glen Hazel, like to support for transport and food. But thank God the venue was very, very helpful, and they were able to, they were selling coffee and stuff, but so they were able to also contribute and give food and stuff. So that was an amazing thing. And my partners in creative gatherings, like one is a music therapist. Her name is Yael Shapiro, and she's absolutely incredible when it comes to like working with people. But also as an artist, she's just like next level. She's got one of those like voices that like God just like touched her with, like it was amazing. And then my buddy Alon, who you met, well, they were both at the creative gatherings event. But Alon was the guy that was doing the sound. And his thing is that he brings us tech, and he supports, and he comes and he does the sound, and all he wants to do is play the drums. Like that's like his life is very busy, but all he wants to do is play the drums. So he plays the drums and he's happy. And it's like these little things that just bring joy, that you have to shine a light on. If you can shine a light on that little bit of joy that comes from a creative experience, it can wash over you and just take hold and give you, it's like having like hot chocolate, it's just lacquer, Anyway, so I'm very grateful for it.
I'm so excited to see where this is going, because the event was, like you said, it was a free event. No one had to pay, so it was open to the public. It was family friendly, which I loved, because I brought my family, my wife and 2 kids. So it was friendly for them. They could have a safe space to play around. There was other kids. They could have lots of stuff to check out. The content, by the performers, by the people on the open mic, was all family friendly. And you were also checking that, I think I overheard one of the stand-up comedians. You were saying, "Hey, you better make sure it's family friendly." Any jokes, don't make any dirty jokes.
Yeah, well, it's important to frame it. Like I do believe that it's important to safeguard the kids. Like you have to safeguard that. If it is a family friendly show, so someone's got to do it. But I wouldn't want to censor anybody, like in philosophy, but within the context of a family friendly picnic vibe, like I felt I had to.
Yeah, no, of course. And I respect that, because you want it to be family friendly. You want families to come and to feel comfortable, and next time to be a bigger event. I mean, I would be excited if this is, at a huge venue and it's an open mic, but I guess depends how many people can talk at a time, But it has huge potential just to give people that platform to come and express their creations, right? And I've been to a few of these now. I mean, the creative expression one, I came to yours in Glen Hazel, was really, really good. That was in the Jewish community. But I went to one in Orange Grove, in a township, right? They were also doing like a creative day. It was more poetry focused, but it was also art, and just letting people come and express. And it was such a wonderful event. There was mostly kids there in the audience, and a whole bunch of poets, come on stage. It's open mic. Whoever wants to come and do some lyrics or play music or show some art, you have the opportunity. And it's so beautiful to see. And I would love to see more of this, right? Because it brings the community together. That's the one thing that you mentioned, is the connection. The creation brings the connection, the connectivity, the community. And that's a link I never really thought about, right? The creating and expressing it brings the community connection in some way. And that's wonderful to see, that the community comes together for these type of things. So I would love to see this going forward and maybe spread across the country. There should be hundreds of creative expressions all over the place, every month.
Totally. I think that, one of the wonderful things, as you mentioned now, is that talking about that relationship between the performer and the audience, is that it becomes like one community, a connectivity, as you say. And I think that it's there's a modus operandi to create that sort of space. Otherwise, you have audience and then you have performer, and you have like that barrier in between. The idea is to create that cohesion, and that, I believe, that's what the Ubuntu, where the Ubuntu comes in. The Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu. We don't live in silos. We are all connected to each other. And the open mic is certainly an amazing way to do it. One of the things that I did just before Creative Gatherings, I was running an open mic, a weekly open mic in Maboneng, called Wolfpack Studios. And it was such a vibe, man. And the reason why it was so epic was because, in Maboneng, you'd have this like walk-in culture. So people could just like walk in, which was great. That's not, you don't get that everywhere. And there's always like the financial aspect of it, which makes it challenging. But if you come in with that intention, that humane intention, if it's driven by your heart and it's nourished by like what's going on in your mind, that is a creation that is, as you say, please God, can spread out. Because you can talk about things that you can't talk about on social media, which we said earlier on can be just a vacuum, a place to like just get stuff out your chest. But it's most often, like just you need to get it out. If you can get it out together with other people in a music way, you can actually like find solutions that you can't find on social media, that you can't find behind the AI, because you're finding it with the person next door to you. You're finding it with your neighbor. You're finding harmony with your neighbor, and that's the point of all of it, to try and find harmony, which is what music offers, which is what, when the right combination of colors come together, when the right, syncing happens with, when you're making a film, it's.
You also spoke earlier about the harmony between different creators, right? And that's also quite beautiful, because they all have to be playing from the same page, be in rhythm with each other. It's not just one person creating something. If you got a band of 4 or 5 people, they're all playing different instruments, that connection also needs to be quite strong between all the different players to be in rhythm, right? And I feel there's an energetic connection, even though they're physically separate. There's an energetic connection between them, so that they can play in harmony, in rhythm, in time, and feel through the music. I think that's also very powerful. It gets charged up and stronger, as you do more creating with other people.
Totally. It's working with other people. I mean, everyone comes with a different flow. Everyone has their own experiences of their day. When you step into a rehearsal space, something kicks in, and it should be a craft. It's a discipline. When I used to teach drama, I used to teach about the 4 C's towards, working together, towards like working in an ensemble, working in a group. And it was always about, number 1, cooperation. Everyone needs to just cooperate with each other, like, feel safe to just listen to what each other is saying, and respect that this is a creative, space where we all have different ideas. So let's just cooperate. That's the first one. Number 2, contribute. Everyone needs to bring in their unique flavor, their own unique quality, their own voice. What is that je ne sais quoi that makes Deepak Indigo? Like, what is the, what can you contribute? And everyone must contribute something. Okay, so that's a cooperation, contribution. Third is commitment. Like, just give your all. You've got a show, you've got something to do. Commit to it, and if everyone commits to it, then like at least there's a safety there. And the fourth thing, which is can be one of two things. It could be the fourth one is creativity. With all those things, you can come in and just be creative. But the other thing should also actually just be communication, um, as a way to navigate through. Um, Working with people, it's a craft, it's a discipline, and it takes time, and it's not easy. The challenges that we faced with participants coming to our events, we always face them. But it's the modus operandi. What is the intention behind what you are doing? That is what's going to give you the joy, the impetus. If you're doing it with the wrong intention or with an impure intention, then it something will go awry. Like in school, I'd find my kids, they would do it for marks. Like, we're going to do it well for marks. And then what's going to happen in the end? They're going to stress out so much. They're going to see that because they're associating the stress about getting high marks for a drama piece with getting high marks for a math exam, which is totally separate. I would rather the kids, I used to have nightmares about math exams, like after writing exams. But for a drama piece, the intention should be the joy of it. It should be, but what is your intention? That's the key, in my opinion. And then when you find that harmony, when you find that flow, it's magical. I was part of a theater company years ago where I was the accompanying musician, and wow, it was rooted in improv theater, and it was beautiful when I would play and the actors would perform. It was inspiring, and I still consider it one of my most favorite performance experiences of my life.
That's so cool. And you mentioned that open mic is one form of creative gatherings that you're hosting, but there's other formats. Like, what other type of formats that you could do? Because this is very new to me and I'm so interested.
Well, usually we would do things that are like associated with like different holidays. So we'd do like a Valentine's Day show, and we'd like theme the entire event around like something like love, for example. We would do something. We had an event at a bar a couple of years ago, and we just thought, let's showcase a couple of the people who we know who have come to creative gatherings, and we'll do like 5 artists. Each one does like 5 songs, and then or 3 songs, and paid, and people can pay, and we can all make a little bit of bucks from that. So we do like that as an example. We would do events going into Soweto, with the creative art space, and we would like just 2 or 3 of us just join in on what the participants there would be doing, which most likely was like heavy poetry, often heavy-handed stuff, but like quite moving still. We used to do stuff in Braamfontein, picnic vibes, at the Observatory Sports Club. On a Sunday when they used to have the market, we just asked if we could have like the stage for like hours. So we would just like have a rotation of different musicians and performers and stuff coming on. But for me, the purest form, I think, for me is to do like something like an open mic, because that really just gives it makes it fills everyone with that like sense that we're all together. So yeah, so that's it. And we also, sorry, I forgot to mention, there's quite a big thing. We made a documentary a few years ago looking at, and this was like in partnership with a group called 9th Street, which is a Jewish creative group, and the artists who are part of that come in with the Jewish, I mean, because it's Jewish, but obviously Creative Gatherings, it's a South African project. But we partnered up with 9th Street, and we created a documentary about during COVID. And during COVID, it was about social distancing, but not just social distancing because of COVID, but because we all are culturally different. So everyone, like we brought different artists from our creative gatherings, like group of friends who aren't necessarily Jewish, and and we made a documentary. Everyone put together creative ensemble pieces informed by identity stuff, and presented it. And it was also like a profound thing to see the creativity there. And that the documentary is actually free, and your listeners can see it on YouTube. It's called Distance, the documentary, and it's awesome. And also, just while just talking about it, I also have my own YouTube channel where I put out my own music, and the songs that I write also are informed by my like thinking about life and and the world. And I have a song that I wrote called "Split the Sky," which also looks at this idea of being human and just finding connectivity. And I've got a song like another song about being alone in a big crowd, and that's my experience about you know a time in my life where I felt completely alienated and found that joy in community. And it was very much rooted in the time when Creative Gatherings was at its like heyday. And when I say heyday, I'm talking like pre-COVID, like 2017, 2018, 2019. That was when we were like doing things so regularly. And then things just like since COVID, things kind of slowed down a little bit. We did 2 online events actually during COVID, 2 Zoom shows. And what was amazing is that we invited participants from overseas to participate because it was on Zoom, and that was epic. But nothing beats like the real thing.
So we are getting to the end of our show, and I know you do have to rush off. But just to close off, you introduced a very interesting topic that I wanted to ask about. I don't know if we're going to have time to discuss it at length, but maybe that's something you come on to our show in the future to discuss at length. But it's how creativity is controlled by certain few people on the planet to influence and manipulate us. And I'm going to talk about the one biggest industry in the world is the music industry, right? And they sign up artists to contracts, and then the artist has to now toe the line, sing pop songs or sing whatever lyrics have been written for them. And there's one artist, I mean, probably a number, but there's one artist I wanted to mention because she's blown up on YouTube. Her name is Ina May. She was signed up to one of the record labels, and she wrote a song which was anti-globalist. She poked fun at the vaccine. She poked some stuff at, all the lies out there. And anyway, her record label didn't want to push the song out. And they said, no, you can't do those lyrics. You need to sing our pop song that we've written for you. So anyway, she left the record label, created her own song independently, published it on YouTube, and it's just blown up, like millions and millions and millions of views. What do you feel about this control of creativity around the planet and how it's used against our better judgment?
I've seen how the music industry has kind of changed. And just to let you know, I'm not really in the music industry. I'm a musician, but I'm in the community world, And when I look at how musicians have been manipulated over the years, I mean, I was a 90s kid. So, I mean, I've seen how like these 90s bands kind of came and went. And the bands that had the longevity were the ones that would like produce their own things, But today, I guess, everyone is able to create their own music and be their own producer. So how do you get out there? And perhaps it is about like putting your stuff out there independently, and you can go viral. There was a musician, I can't remember his name now, 2 years ago. It was like a ginger guy, had red hair and red beard, and he wrote the song. It was called, what was it called? I actually can't remember what it was called now either. But the point is that he went viral. Then you have like you speak about those artists that don't write their own music, that you have like a team of people who write the music for them. And then the question is like, where do you place value on artists? And, I don't know how people get picked out. I know that I was very, very much not a fan of idols, because I never liked the idea of it being a competitive sport. I don't think that. I think that by turning it into a competitive sport, it can actually like can dip your creative juices. It can be quite a downer if someone says to you, "Oh, you're no good," because like part of that show was about like the entertainment in like making fun, and the judges would seriously like make fun of like some artists, and especially like the young ones who still weren't crafted, but like still felt like they wanted to carry on, and then because of one of the judges saying something nasty to them, they just like gave up for the rest of their lives, and that's horrible. Um, but I do think that artists like Taylor Swift totally like deserve the success that they got. Like she wrote her own music, she produced her own music. Like when you do the work, and that work is met with some divine connectivity, and you succeed, and then you do good with that success. Like I think Taylor Swift, she gave her crew, like each member on her crew, like I don't know, like $100,000 or something, just as a bonus. It's like you do good things, like good things will come. It's like so that's it. Like it's what you do with it. But I think that we live in a world now where everyone does have a voice, and everyone has everyone can create stuff with AI, but what are you going to do with it, and how are you going to attach meaning to it, and how are you going to bring joy into your life and joy into the lives of others, your family, your friends, um, with it? What is your intention? Do you want to be a rock star for the fame and fortune, or do you want to be a rock star so you can do good in the world?
And on that note, all of the links to Moshe's documentary, his YouTube channel, his social media, it's all going to be below this video. So go check it out, go support him, go subscribe. He's got such amazing content he's been creating for decades. And really grateful that you could share this chat with us. And he's got a ginger cat as well.
This is a divine creature from the heavens.
Yes, very intelligent creatures. Moshe, we really enjoyed the time. We know you do have to rush off, but thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. This is such an inspirational chat. I hope everyone is inspired to go and create something that you enjoy for yourself, for fun, or if you're a professional, keep working on your craft, perfect it, get better. But there's so much creation going on. I'm inspired to go create something. Moshe, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being here.
Yeah, this was a good chat. Lots of fun. So we look forward to maybe you coming back in the future and we chat further on other topics.
And we'll see you at the next creative gatherings.
Of course, I'll definitely be there. So everyone, check out the dates for the next creative gatherings as well. It'll be on Moshe's Facebook page. There is also a Creative Gatherings Facebook page.
And a YouTube channel as well. There's a bunch of things. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so it's coming up. And if you want to come and express, make sure you put that date on your calendar. Come out there, practice something, create something, do some comedy, do some music or poetry, whatever you feel like creating, and come and share it with the community, because that's a wonderful way of just enjoying and having fun. So until next time, everyone, ciao for now.